Picture the last meeting where a clear commitment was made. Someone said they would have the report finished by Friday. Someone agreed to follow up with the client by end of week. Someone owned the deliverable. Everyone heard it. Friday arrived. The report was not there. No one had flagged that it was at risk. No one had updated the group. The deadline passes in silence. The person who missed it is not a bad person. They had good intentions, with competing priorities and a week that moved faster than the plan. The structure that should have surfaced the risk early and given them a chance to course correct before the deadline did not exist. That is an accountability problem, and it's structural. In small organizations, accountability appears to work naturally. The founder can see almost every commitment. The team is small enough that missed work is immediately visible. When something is late, everyone knows. When someone's behind, the path back is short. Accountability happens through proximity, not through systems. As the organization grows, that natural visibility disappears. Teams operate in separate departments with separate priorities. A commitment made in a Monday morning meeting is invisible to the people in a different function by Tuesday afternoon. The founder can no longer track every promise. Managers inherit accountability responsibilities that they were never given the tools to execute on. What filled the gap in most organizations is not a system. It's the personality and energy of specific managers willing to chase down commitments and have difficult conversations. This works until it doesn't, and it stops working at a predictable point as the organization grows. When accountability breaks, the instinct is to diagnose the people. The leader who missed the deadline lacks discipline. The team that keeps falling behind lacks ownership. If we had better people, this would not keep happening. That instinct's understandable, and in most cases, it's wrong. Accountability does not break down because people lack character. It breaks down because the organization lacks the structure that makes follow-through sustainable at scale. When you treat an infrastructure problem as a people problem, you get one of two outcomes. You either add more pressure to the same broken system, which produces short-term compliance and long-term exhaustion, or you replace people, which produces a brief reset before the new people encounter the same missing structures. The problem is not in the room. The problem is in the system that the room is operating inside. Structural accountability has three components. Each one is necessary, and none of them depend on personality. The first component is visible ownership. Every commitment needs a single named owner. Not a team, not a department. One person whose name is attached to the outcome. When ownership is shared, accountability is diffused. When ownership is named, accountability becomes clear. And this removes the most common failure mode, the one where everyone assumed someone else was handling it. The second component is structured follow-through. Ownership without follow-through is a promise without a mechanism. Structured follow-through means that commitments are tracked in a system, visible to the team, and reviewed at predictable intervals. This does not require complex technology. It requires consistent practice. Commitments made in a Monday meeting are reviewed the following day, week, and month. Outcomes are visible. Progress is tracked. The system holds people accountable without requiring any single manager to remember every promise. The third component is early feedback loops. Accountability breaks down most often when understanding is assumed and problems surface too late to correct. A commitment made in January that's not reviewed until March is by then completely missed, and the window to intervene is closed. Early feedback loops create structured moments, daily, weekly, biweekly, where understanding is confirmed, progress is surfaced, obstacles are named, and course corrections happen before small problems become large ones. Visible ownership, structured tracking, early loops. 3 components. Together, they create a system that makes follow-through the default, not the exception. Personality-based accountability works in a small team where relationships are strong and communication is consistent. It breaks at scale for 3 specific reasons. First, it depends on the presence and energy of specific managers. When the manager who cares the most about follow-through is focused elsewhere, in another project, in another quarter, accountability in that team disappears. That system's not portable, it lives in a person. Second, it creates inconsistency across the organization. Different managers have different comfort levels with confrontation. Some teams experience tight accountability, others experience almost none. And the difference is not the quality of the people, it's the presence or absence of a consistent manager. The result is an organization where standards vary by department. Third, it makes accountability feel punitive. When the only mechanism for accountability is a conversation about failure, a check-in that's really a performance conversation, or a postmortem to blame, people learn to associate accountability with consequences rather than shared standards. Culture becomes defensive, and people protect themselves instead of surfacing risk early. Structural accountability removes all 3 failure modes. It operates regardless of which manager is involved. It creates consistency because the system is the same everywhere. And it separates accountability from confrontation because the system surfaces progress and gaps without requiring anyone to initiate a difficult conversation. Installing structural accountability requires 3 steps. The first is defined ownership rules. Every decision, project, and commitment needs a single named owner. The discipline is assigning ownership in the room, not after the meeting ends, not in a follow-up email. At the end of every meeting where a commitment is made, someone names the owner before the conversation closes. The second is building a tracking system. The format matters less than the practice. A shared document, a project management tool, or even a simple dashboard. What matters is that commitments are recorded, that owners update them consistently before each review, and that the whole team can see the picture. Commitments in people's heads are not tracked commitments. The third step is establishing a rhythm. Post-commitment reviews to confirm understanding and resources, weekly reviews of active commitments, monthly reviews of larger milestones, quarterly reviews of strategic progress. Each interval serves a different level of detail, and together they create a complete accountability structure. Define ownership, track commitments, and review at rhythm. The system doesn't require heroic management, it just requires consistent practice. What changes in an organization that installs structural accountability is the infrastructure and, in turn, the culture. The standards were defined, the visibility was installed, the rhythm was established, and the organization began to hold itself accountable because the system made accountability the default, not the exception. Here's the challenge for you this week. Identify one commitment that slipped in the last month or quarter without early warning. Ask yourself, was there a system that should have surfaced the risk before the deadline arrived? If the answer is no, that's where you start. Subscribe to Unleashed and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release new episodes, and I will see you in the next one.
Finally one together unleashed.